Hello YouTube and welcome to another review, and this time we have Germany's AFRIKA Korps World War II 176 scale, coming in at about 21mm, so a little bit on the small side. This set is an old Matchbox kit which REVELL have taken upon themselves to use again. It's slightly unfortunate, although this box has £6.99 written on it in English pounds. I paid a bit more for that and it's a little bit cheeky. I think back in the day Matchbox was probably a little bit cheaper than the Airfix sets, and as we all know Airfix sets come in at about £6, say £6. You know, charging something like over £10 for a kit like this, which is of a similar age to some of the Airfix kits, a little bit cheeky. REVELL do have their own AFRIKA Korps kit, which isn't a bad kit in itself. So make sure if you order, you get the correct box number. This one's 02616. So, like I say, this is an old 1970s Matchbox set, which REVELL have taken upon themselves to use. I don't know why, but they have, so there you go. Artwork wise, nothing amazing, but it does tell you what you're going to pretty much get. It does the job basically. Nothing amazing in the box art. I probably think the 1970s box art from Matchbox is slightly better, but hey ho. Now let's have a look at what the write-up says, which is the all important write-up. Hey ho, we'll give it a go. So, we have, early in 1941, the German Supreme Command dispatched the AFRIKA Korps to aid its Italian allies in Libya. By the summer of 1944, these well-equipped troops had pushed a numerically vastly superior British out of Libya and back into Egypt. After the Battle of El Alamein, however, the exhausted German-Italian army was forced to withdraw. Yeah, short and sweet. I think that's probably the best we can say about that review. Essentially, though, I've already done a write-up before with the Airfix set on the AFRIKA Korps, so I'm not going to delve in too much, but like I say, they didn't last very long. They certainly made an impression, or most certainly their commander did, which was Erwin Rommel. And yeah, they certainly gave the British a run for its money, no doubt about that. However, they chased each other backwards and forwards. It was almost like, if it wasn't the fact that people died, you could almost say it was amusing, but there was a lot of to and fro until eventually the Germans were crushed. Now, their mandate was just really to hold British troops down in North Africa, and that was all the AFRIKA Korps was supposed to do. Rommel just went further than ever before. Hitler lost interest, and before you know it, the British had rearmed, re-equipped, retrained, and pretty much threw the Germans back into the sea. The Americans finishing them off pretty much in Tunisia. Now on the back we have a little bit of a paint guide here, which is quite good, quite like it. It's certainly pretty much to the point. You can quite clearly see it, so I quite like that. Paints and everything all listed there. They want you to use their own paints. That's fully understandable. In the lower corner we have actual size figure, and yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. Yeah, looks pretty good. Nothing else to say about the box. It's made in the European Union. So let's have a look at the sprues. Now, what I actually like about this sprue, it's quite a soft bendy plastic, so I can bend that. Let's do the front first, so let's have a look. Now, this is typical of the 70s, so we've got a really big sort of fighting kit here. There's not many people doing nothing, so if you want massing troops fighting, then this is the kit for you. I will say, though, it's not one of the best Matchbox kits you'll ever see. It does suffer from what I call Matchbox head in places, and there is, you know, Matchbox must have used a couple of sculptors, and this is the one that I don't care for so much. Now, as a kid, when I used to use Matchbox soldiers, they were annoying because the stand, as you can see, is very thin, and back in the 70s we had a lot of carpeted floors and they just wouldn't stand for toffee. They were almost similar to the, you know, the fake cheapos you would get. They just wouldn't stand really, whilst Airfix soldiers would always stand. They had quite a heavy base. So yeah, we're having a look here. Here's our guy here with his Mauser taking a shot. You can quite clearly see the bolt on the rifle, so that's a good sign. And it looks like a nice model of a Mauser. I'm quite impressed with that. He's got his socks very uniformly held up there. Now you have to remember that nowadays we're a bit choosy and fussy now. We like things to be quite accurate and how they were in the day. And back in the 70s, it didn't really matter so much as long as they were soldiers and they were firing and things like that. We were a lot happier with what we got. So, age, isn't going to be kind to these chaps. So we're all nice and neat in the way the uniform looks. We have to believe this is Rommel with his large sort of lace-up boots, which for the early part of the war were quite popular with the officers. And we've got quite a number standing fire in there. We've got what possibly might be part of the mortar team, or maybe an NCO just giving instructions there with his soft hat. So it's quite nice. He's pointing. Again, we have another one, which must be Rommel. I don't know why we've got two, but there you go. I'll come to the guy sniping in a minute. This one would be... He's not a bad sort of looking chap. He's actually got goggles on his helmet. He's got a stick grenade stuffed in his belt. He's got the lace-up boots, although they don't really come off. They look a bit clunky in all honesty. His MP5 is looking a little bit flashy, but in itself it's not a bad little pose. You could live with that. Here we got a guy charging, so he's charging a position. His foot on the left looks a little bit strange, almost looks like it's dislocated. This guy here running with holding his magazine in a sort of strange position, but then again, there's nothing wrong with that. He's running, he's not firing, obviously, maybe running to the scene of a battle, but you'd think he'd have his finger on the trigger. How comfortable that is, I don't know. We've got a guy, just a rudimentary chap, throwing a mortar shell down into the barrel of the mortar. This guy we've got kneeling down, taking a shot, soft hat, quite reminiscent of the Airfix pose, but then again, it's a generic pose, so, they're going to come close to looking similar. And, like I say, nothing jumping out of you. Jumping out at you, rather. Now here we have our MG, and it's on a tripod. I'm not too keen on this chap, although to be honest it looks better when you're looking at it than it does on any photos and things, but I wouldn't say it's the best thing in the world, but it does its job, and you'd be reasonably happy with that. Again, we've got another guy with what looks like a mortar shell, so he's another one for the mortar crew. Now, I'm going to just flip over and point something out here. So, we have a guy sniping along, and you can quite clearly see his gas mask holder there, canister. And you see how small it looks there. It's very tiny. And then if you check out this chap here who's loading, it's a bit bigger. So, nothing fantastic here. But I've never been a fan of this AFRIKA core set, so I'll make that clear. Yeah, so these are pretty much the figures from the other side. Little bit of flash here and there. There's our officer again, who must be Rommel, with his hands firmly behind his back. Okay. So next we have another guy running along, and he looks, it's more of an accurate pose, this one, because he looks like he's under fire. He's just sort of hunching down a bit. He's got his rifle at the ready, he's got the bayonet there as well. So, yeah, I quite like that. You could just see him running alongside a tank, or sneaking in, or just taking general cover while advancing, so that's not bad. Here we go with what I always call Matchbox head, where this head just seems to be in every set. It seems like it's almost the same guys in the British Commandos. He's in a few of these old Matchbox sets, and I call it Matchbox head. It just looks a bit disproportionate to the body. And I mean, the MP5 looks fairly good. I mean, I can't complain on a lot of things, but like I say, this is a battle set, so if you were a kid, this is the one you want, because it's just literally full of guys doing everything. So this guy here, he's throwing a grenade. I mean, I wouldn't say he's putting his heart into it. He's got the long lace-up boots, which would be fairly uncommon, to be honest. You wouldn't get many people wearing those. Here we have our British Tommy, 8th Army, with his tam o' shanter on, and he's surrendering. I have to say, there is a cracking 132 8th Army set that Matchbox did. That is a very good set. I don't know how long it looks in 172, but I'll review it at some point. Here's your mortar, and that's a little bit of minor assembly. Don't worry, it's not an accurate model of any type of mortar. It is just a mortar in its most basic sense. We get 2 8th Army prisoners. But yeah, we'll go to the back of this set. But yeah, I mean, it's just literally what you want again. I have to say, I think the price is a little bit high for this set. I do think it should be round about the Airfix mark. I don't think the price on the box is what I paid for it. I think it was a little bit higher. So just be very careful. REVELL have got another good Afrika Korps set, which they've done. Now, there's not a lot of guys doing loads, but there's some nice little assembly kits to it, and it's quite a nice set in itself. I'll have to review that at some point. So don't get mixed up with this one. You can see here at the top they've removed what probably said Matchbox, and was probably, you know, especially here, they've removed that. Made in, probably said England at the time. But yeah, not Matchbox's greatest kit to me. So that's all you get. You get 2 sprues, and it looks like, as I said, you get Rommel times 2. So no wonder the Germans were doing well initially, because they had 2 Rommels. And there he is. I can only think he's Rommel. I mean, he could just be an officer, but we'll go with Rommel. I very much think I'm calling him Rommel because I know when I was a kid I got the 132 8th Army set, which was the direct opposite of this one, and we definitely had a Montgomery in there, because he had a V-neck sweater, the Berry. I mean, it was definitely Monty, so I will say this is Rommel. But yeah, I mean, geez, for a set for a kid, I think this is ideal. More serious guys, I'd probably give it a miss. Like I say, there's better Afrika Korps sets out there. So on that one, we'll wind up this review. So that was my review of Revell's German Afrika Korps World War II. Or, as I've said previously, Matchbox's 1970s kit, which has just been reboxed, and you know, so nothing there. Just make sure when you're ordering off Revell, there is another Afrika Korps set. Make sure you get the right one. That is the box number for the Matchbox version, which is 02616. So if you want the Matchbox set, that's the code you go for. If not, it's the other code. So I haven't got that to hand at the moment, but just please don't make a mistake on that one, because you'll probably be disappointed. But yes, like I say, this can vary in price. It's got $6.99 on this. I did not pay that. I don't know why that's on there, but just be careful. This can retail at about £10, and I don't think it's worth it. So just be very careful on that. So again, Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.